It's time for Waking Up with Wesley. Today's forecast and weather-wide discussion with WLOX First Alert Weather Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams.
Waking Up with Wesley is sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.
Hello there, South Mississippi, and thank you for waking up with Wesley. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. So today we are having our umbrellas nearby, right? Because there's a better chance for rain. We're tracking a Gulf disturbance that could bring some tropical moisture to the region and help to promote a wetter weather pattern for now. Might change that out by the weekend, so don't get used to it. Might turn drier, hotter by Saturday, Sunday. And we're also going to take a look at the rest of the tropics. There's a tropical storm continuing to brew out in the Atlantic, Tropical Storm Erin. We'll take a look at the latest forecast track with that, which will be updated by 10 o'clock this morning. So we are going to see that update later this morning after the conclusion of this video. But let's take a look at the first alert radar map this morning. What do we find out there? Got a couple of batches of rain showers. Not much happening over our 6 southernmost counties, but out here just south of Ship Island, just south of Cat Island, are tracking a couple of downpours there. We're also seeing this other zone of rain that is south of Mobile Bay. Now, the one that is near Ship Island, near Cat Island, tell me what kind of motion you see on that one right here. What kind of motion do we see? Is it moving toward the coast? That's not what I see. I see this action maybe ever so slightly drifting toward the southwest. Now tell me which direction you see that other rain over by south of Mobile Bay. Which direction is that rain moving? And based on my estimation from the radar loop, looks like it's moving toward the north. So with these types of motion on the first alert radar, we can already kind of discern where this Gulf tropical disturbance is located, because it would be near the center of any type of apparent counterclockwise circulation. And if we have a circulation going like this, that means our Gulf disturbance is located right about there. So we can remove all of that, and you can, again, just see things are generally rotating counterclockwise in this sort of fashion. So we're going to keep an eye, I think, on this activity here, because this has the best chance of impacting the Mississippi coast as we go through the rest of Tuesday morning, and especially for areas that are farthest east, farthest south, i.e. Jackson County. So if you're watching from Jackson County, y'all probably have the best rain chance out of all of the Mississippi coast over the next 3 to 4 hours. And so we actually will find that if you have our First Alert weather app, you will actually find that increase in the coastal zone rain chances. We'll show you a peek at them based on the latest update. But notice that as we get into the 9, 10, and 11 o'clock hours for the rest of this morning, that coastal rain chance is a little bit higher. I don't know if it's going to be quite as high for the inland areas. It eventually gets there. But on the coast, it goes up first because y'all are closest to that rain that's sitting offshore. And then a peek at the afternoon, we're basically all going to stay at that 50 to 60% rain chance around noon, 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. So again, there will be some places that get some of those scattered showers and storms hanging out nearby. Let's take a zoom out map of this rain across the region. And once we zoom out a little bit more, you can see there is this zone that is being watched right here, because all of that is going to begin to slide north and northwestward and might begin to spread over some of the land areas along the coast. The Weather Prediction Center is actually monitoring that. They've been monitoring it for the last couple of hours. So that zone that is highlighted in green there, it's what is called a Weather Prediction Center mesoscale discussion, if you want to get into the jargon of it, the meteorological jargon of it. But the bottom line is it's being watched in Alabama, on the western Florida panhandle, and in parts of coastal Mississippi, especially near Jackson and southern Harrison counties. That's the area that's highlighted. What's it highlighted for? Because we see these showers and storms that are streaming onshore, and they are kind of oriented a little bit in northwest bands. Like the bands are not shaped like this. They're not shaped horizontally. The bands of rain are shaped almost vertically like this. As you see, I'm circling one of them right now. So if you have a vertical rain band that is moving from south to north, that's really getting into a training situation, like a train going over the same tracks. So that's what meteorologists describe when you have rain moving in the way that it's oriented, because that can make the rain pile up over a specific location. And so that might be something to watch for near Mobile Bay, or really anywhere that is highlighted in green on this map, which includes much of Alabama. So this green area here includes much of Alabama, parts of the western Florida Panhandle, and like I said, Jackson County and southern Harrison County, probably mostly to the east of Gulfport. Because remember, once you go near or west of Gulfport, that motion, the storms are not moving onshore. We just showed you that, right? We go back to that. These storms here, they are not moving toward the coast. They're moving away. So you basically have to be near or east of Jackson County to see the rain motion moving toward the coast. So again, Harrison County, if you're near or west of Gulfport, you might not have a ton of rain, but once you go near Biloxi and toward the east, keep an eye on that stuff heading into the rest of Tuesday. By the way, here's a look at the moisture forecast pattern. We were tracking this last time in my last Waking Up with Wesley update on Friday of last week. We saw that there will be this surge of tropical moisture from Florida toward Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. And that's exactly what we have here. We knew that the rain chance would increase over our region at some point from Sunday toward Tuesday, and that's what we're looking at. This tropical moisture will hang around our coast for the next day or so, and then eventually it will actually move away, allowing for a pattern change. As high pressure builds in for the weekend, we could see an increase in temperatures and a decrease in rain chances. So there's the futurecast. The modeling getting a lot right. So kudos, a little small round of applause to Futurecast. Usually it doesn't get much of the initialization correct, but it did so right now. What did it get correct? It gets the wind direction that we just analyzed on radar. It's got that correct. Let's show you this full screen. You can see that storm motion, those lines, it's pointing them down here, right? So those storms that are near Ship Island, near Cat Island, they're not moving toward the coast. But look at the direction off to the east of that. It does show this moving toward the coast over here. And again, that's all rotating around that counterclockwise swirl, that Gulf disturbance, which by the way is not expected to become a depression or storm. So we'll watch this area here. Let's see if the modeling brings this area like we were just looking at on radar. Let's see if it brings this toward the coast. We're going to hit play on this. And yep, it sure did. So it looks like the model is in agreement with me that at some point from this morning into early Tuesday afternoon, we are going to see those showers and storms that are offshore moving toward the coast, and they may bring some rain to parts of Jackson County and other nearby areas, perhaps eventually up into George County too. So again, looks like a pretty good likelihood of seeing wetter weather within the next 3 to 6 hours on the Mississippi coast. Now maybe some of that fades away as we head to later today, but we're going to see scattered showers and storms remaining in the region for tomorrow as that tropical moisture stays nearby. That disturbance will move inland, so we're no longer going to be worried about, we're already not worried about development, but there won't even be a highlighted area on the NHC map by the time we get to tomorrow, as that, like I said, disturbance will move off the water and inland. And then eventually, by the time we get to Thursday, if not Friday, we're eventually going to see kind of a decrease in the rain potential. Maybe we return to more of the typical summertime pop-up storms. So what you're looking at right here is raw model data for rain potential. The red color indicating a high rain chance, and we see a good amount of red at times on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. And then we see less red heading into that time frame of Friday and beyond. And the timing of this, you see Friday, you see Saturday, Sunday, Monday. This is basically your typical summertime PM pop-up storm. So that's what we're probably going to see in this time frame here, your typical summertime PM pop-up storms, if that. But before we get to that Friday and beyond time frame, we are going to, well, it didn't draw that well. Let's try that again. This is tough to draw on for some reason. But anyway, we are going to see that increased rain chance in the near term for Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. Now, once we get beyond Thursday, there is going to be a stronger ridge of high pressure that develops nearby. And so that's going to do two things for us. It's going to help the rain chances to come down, and it will also allow for temperatures to crank up a little bit more than usual. Your usual August high temperature in coastal Mississippi, lower 90s, but we might creep a little bit more to the middle 90s by the time we get to the upcoming weekend. So don't be surprised if things kind of heat up Friday into Saturday and Sunday. And by the way, for most of August, we've kind of stayed out of the middle 90s. The last time we had middle 90s was actually last month in July. So that could actually be a little bit of a shock to the system for some of you if you're not used to those middle 90s. It's been a few weeks since we've had them. I can actually take a look. I believe, have a tracker for high temperatures, low temperatures over the last 30 days. So let's see if we can pinpoint that time frame. So yeah, we had 99, and that was in late July. So this is the 28th of July. We had a 98 on the 28th of July, a 99 on the 29th of July. And then ever since the 29th of July, we never really revisited that type of heat. We've mainly stayed in the lower 90s. We've actually had the majority of August in the upper 80s. What a treat that is. But we might see that treat kind of take a break as we go into the upcoming weekend, getting the next kind of heat wave. I would not be surprised to see some heat advisories issued in or near South Mississippi around the Saturday, Sunday time frame. Is it possible to see some pop-up storms in the afternoon? Yes, but that's kind of like your classic summer day anyway. All right, we're running short on time here, so we're going to do a quick look at the tropics and see what the latest is on that. And mind you, the timing of the recording of this video is about 8:40, 8:50 in the morning on Tuesday. I know that the National Hurricane Center is going to give a 10 a.m. update on the information, especially this forecast track for Erin. So with this tropical storm in the forecast track, understand that if you are watching this video on playback after 10 o'clock Tuesday morning, understand that the information has probably changed and you do need to seek current information. But for what we have to work with for now, this is a look at the latest tropics map. You've got this disturbance in the Gulf with a near 0% chance to become a depression or storm. We like to hear that. Not really expecting development from that. Low chance of development to the north of Bermuda, not a concern to the Gulf Coast. And then there's Erin, which we have a 5-day forecast cone putting it 5 days from today near or just to the north of Puerto Rico. Like I said, the National Hurricane Center, they haven't given an update with this since early Tuesday morning. With a storm that is far away from land, they typically only provide updates every 6 hours. So they're probably not going to give another update on this until around 9 or 10 a.m., probably closer to 10 a.m. with Erin. But as of the latest information, we've got a look at those stats. Max winds at 45 miles per hour, so not too terribly of a strong tropical storm. The pressure at 1,004 millibars, and it is moving very quickly. The movement is west at 22 miles per hour. And notice on the satellite presentation, if I go full screen with this, it's kind of naked, right? The center, the low-level center there is exposed. We can see the swirl of the low-level cloud field, cumulus field. And normally with a tropical storm, you would have a bit more thunderstorm, enhanced thunderstorm activity. So, you look at something like this and you say, where's the beef, right? Where are the thunderstorms? Like I said, typically you would see quite a bit more thunderstorms off to the west, the north, the south, or rather in the east and the south, but we don't really have that. We just kind of have an open exposed swirl. So some drier air, I think, is getting into this circulation, and that's kind of starving the system of some of its moisture. But that is expected to change as it moves down the line. Erin is expected to increase in intensity. In the short term here, though, still staying kind of a generally weaker tropical storm. If we take a look at the forecast track with Erin, staying a tropical storm with very little change in intensity today. But give it a few days and there's a possibility that Erin could actually become a hurricane. As we take a look at the forecast track, by the time we get to Thursday, Wednesday night or Thursday, you've got a Category 1 hurricane. And then if we take a look at the rest of the information, that's Saturday night, you've got a Category 3 hurricane sitting very close or just to the north of Puerto Rico. Now, I gotta say, some good things about this is that Erin is going to be for Mississippi, for the Gulf Coast sake, at a good latitude at that point in time. If Erin were instead following a track like this, a little bit more of a lower latitude track, that would significantly increase the potential for Erin to get into the Gulf. But because the track has it a little bit more to the north of where that is, this generally decreases the potential for Erin to get into the Gulf and actually increases the potential for Erin to take a bit more of a turn to the north eventually. Now, the forecast cone only goes out 5 days. So if you want to know or have an idea of what could happen after that, we'll take a look at some of the computer models. These are two of our global models, the GFS and the European model. They go out long into the future. And for the short term, they're in very close agreement with the National Hurricane Center. All the way through Sunday, you can see the European model in green, the GFS model in yellow. They are all close to what the Hurricane Center is calling for track-wise, location-wise, right? We don't see any huge differences, any huge spreads. So this is actually good as it increases our confidence and decreases the uncertainty of where Erin could be by this weekend. Now, if we go beyond Sunday, the cone will disappear because the cone only goes out 5 days. And so we're left with those computer models, and we're looking at Monday, Erin either located near the Bahamas, near the Turks and Caicos, or maybe just to the south of Bermuda. Take a look at Tuesday of next week, Tuesday, August 29th. Erin located either just to the east of the Bahamas or a little bit closer to Bermuda. You're seeing a large storm. It could be a large major hurricane. So it's, even if it does not pose a threat to the Gulf Coast, it is going to be something that gets a lot of attention, as it would likely be the first hurricane and first major hurricane of this season. And it's located, if we do a distance measurer, 5 to 700 miles away from the U.S. coast. Even though it might not be pointed at the U.S. coast, it is close enough to get a lot of attention. You take a look at Wednesday of next week, the models start to show some spread, some uncertainty, but the one thing we don't see, we like this trend, we don't see the models pointing that storm toward the Gulf. They're instead pointing it north. So we're not pointing Erin toward the Gulf, we're pointing Erin northward. That's where the trends are showing as of the latest information. And you can see even deeper into next week, showing that storm continuing that path to the north. But here's the thing. We give daily updates on weather multiple times a day. How many days are we going to have to wait for this north turn to happen? If we rewind, this is moving west a long time here. It doesn't even start to turn to the north until basically around Sunday, maybe next Monday or Tuesday. So that could be almost a whole week away from today that you're going to keep checking the weather and you're going to keep seeing Erin not turning. So it's not going to be a sudden turn. It's going to be a turn we have to wait to see. And the model spread on this, most models do show this if we show the spaghetti lines. So this is including the GFS and European and other models too. Most of those lines show that turn toward the north there. So you can see beyond the forecast cone, we have the majority of the red lines in this zone here. So that is likely going to be the extension of the forecast cone when the National Hurricane Center updates their forecast track at 10 a.m. They're probably going to show a little bit more of that turn. Now, it's worth noting that there are a few outliers, a few stragglers out here. You can see them that do show a possible path closer to the Bahamas. We don't like to see that. And the good thing is that most of the lines do not show that. Most of the lines tightly clustered in red show that general turn toward the north and eventually northeast. We just have to be patient enough to wait for that turn to happen. It's not going to be something that happens tomorrow. It's not going to be something that happens for the next 3 or 4 days. But as we wait to see if Erin will turn, we'll be monitoring the progress of this possible hurricane that could develop in the Atlantic. And of course, we know hurricane season peaks in September, and as we approach that peak, it is totally within reason to see an increase in activity. So as we wrap up this update to the digital desk, just note that the 7-day forecast does not call for any significant tropical weather to directly impact our Mississippi coast. There's no credible threat of that over the next 5 to 7 days, but if there's any changes to that information, we will, of course, let you know first here at the First Alert Weather Team. Well, that'll do it for this Tuesday edition of Waking Up with Wesley. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. I hope that you have a good one, and we'll see you again next time. Take care.
Waking Up with Wesley has been sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.